Great.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Why don't you guys just start by saying a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, Chris McVitie, it's funny hearing you call me a restaurateur because I just think I'm a business guy that cares about providing a great service. But I've been a partner of Jackson's for over 10 years now, and Michael's part of the team here, and he's got a extensive resume. Pretty much grew up in the business. I'll let him speak for himself here, but we're happy to have him.
I'm Michael Corey. I have been a chef for the better half of 35 years and have been fortunate, lucky enough there, I've been able to have all facets of the business, from fast food to fine dining, Michelin star dining. So, and just real fortunate I'm part of the team at Jackson's now.
So when did you kind of join the team at Jackson's?
August. So I'm brand new to Tampa. I like it a lot. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the greatest waterfront dining there is that I've seen throughout the country. So I got here in August. My wife, who works with us also, she's studying to be a master of wine. So really doing some interesting things at Jackson's.
Yeah, that's really cool. So why don't you guys kind of talk a little bit about the menu changes that have been going on and are going to keep going on?
Well, yeah, starting with Tampa, downtown Tampa's undergone a metamorphosis. The customer we had 6 years ago is not the same customer we have now, right? Mm-hmm. So we had to change and evolve, and given the fact that Jackson's opened in 1998, some improvements were overdue. And so as part of those improvements, with the outside, and we'll be starting the inside, hopefully in 2027, included, the menu, and definitely people's palates have changed. I would say that there's also a health revolution taking place right now. People are much more aware of what they put in their mouth and care a lot more about what they put in their mouth, and rightfully so, as I'm sure we'll get into. So we're wanting to be the best and meet those needs and be the place that someone enjoys dining at.
Yes, if you kind of want to walk through, I know you guys got rid of seed oils and added kind of a THC drink list, kind of go through some of those.
Well, we don't sell any THC. In fact, the Florida, Department of Business Regulation just came out like a few days ago and said that they're going to, because it fell into a gray area, yeah. but anyone that has a liquor license that's selling THC, they're going to get in trouble. So they want to make sure that they, pull a lot of that product off the shelves. And I get that. It's just no one was regulating it. So now it is being regulated as of a few days ago. And with the seed oils, there's a lot of different trends. People care about the animals that they're eating, how those animals are being raised. They care about the oils being used in the ingredients. They care about how farmers are, growing the produce or the leafy greens and such, and the vegetables. They care about everything. So we do too.
Yeah. The thing with the seed oils, that it's a super hot topic. And some of the things that we're doing and trying to doing is find alternatives. So I'm looking at rice and bran oils right now. I'm looking at sea moss oils right now, because what you don't want to do is have bad textures, right? People love textures. How do you still keep the integrity of what you're trying to eat, but then also give a great product and feel good about it, of the sustainability piece to it. So it's a constant evolution. When I hear things come out, I like to look at the positive and the negatives, like avocado oil, right? Avocado oil is great in lots of aspects, but it turns rancid really quickly. So how do you find something that will work like a canola oil, that you're not using canola? So lots of research goes into it, but at the end of the day, it is the responsible thing. It's the responsible thing to do. Our fry oil is all tallow. We do lots of cutting edge things and lots of things at Jackson's that lots of fine dining and Michelin star restaurants do, because we want to. We don't do it to obtain anything. We do it out of responsibility, and we go home at night, put our heads on the pillow, and feel good about what we did.
So how do you guys you mentioned kind of Tampa changing and the consumer changing.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your old consumer? Who's your new consumer?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I think our old consumer probably didn't care as much about where their food comes from. I think that and they drank more. The new consumer is the opposite. Low ABV is a big trend right now, and they do care where their food comes from. In Tampa, downtown Tampa specifically, it's young professionals, whereas we cater to a much more broader market. We didn't really have a local base because we were right by the convention center, but now we do have a local base that we are catering to, and they are willing to pay for better quality. Whereas maybe before,
Yeah. So I know for restaurants a lot, and you guys know this. If I'm wrong, you can correct me, but kind of the real margin is in the alcohol that you guys serve,
There's more margin
Right.
in alcohol.
The real moneymaker in restaurants is serving liquor. So has that been a challenge to overcome, selling less alcohol? And how have you, if it has?
I'm gonna say no to that. It's interesting. We have these debates on whether or not the low ABV guest, wants to taste the alcohol or not. Some conversations I had is that they don't want to taste it, so they want to drink without tasting like they're drinking. They want to kind of like lie to themselves a little bit, I guess. But then others will take the opposite viewpoint, where you got to mix in some other. We were just talking about it the other day. What was how'd that conversation go as far as?
It was yesterday we were having that conversation.
Yesterday.
And it's. I think today's consumer is a lot more intelligent about lots of different things.
It's true.
I think, and younger, younger people like yourself, your age, people who are going out, young professionals, they're going out. They understand, wine lists, different wines. I think the mixology piece has really taken a factor. So how do you take something that has lower alcohol? We were talking about this yesterday, and reverse it. So like an old fashioned, where you take the vermouth piece of it.
In martini, I think.
Oh yeah. And then switch it. So really, the vermouth piece of it is the stronger portion, and then the vodka is the lesser portion. And then it takes somebody who has talent to be able to make that taste balanced. That makes it taste good.
That's the challenge.
I think to your original question, the money is in the alcohol, but that comes with a price and a lot of problems. So when you are one of those places that's packed with people and that's what you're serving, you don't realize, you're like, yeah, wow, the tills are full, but a lot comes with it, responsibility, people crash, bartenders being brought up on vehicular manslaughter charges, and so
They're still buying drinks, though.
they're still buying drinks.
They're still buying drinks.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's interesting that there's a gray area in the middle. I always just assumed you drink or you don't drink. You're either completely against alcohol and it's bad for you and you're going to cut it out completely, or you'll drink with dinner, or you'll go out and have a glass of wine or whatever it is.
I think it's a psychological thing, and they want to maybe feel like they're not drinking as much because they know it's not good. So whether they're the drink is the alcohol is masked or it's just a lower content, they're still buying drinks. So even the low ABV maybe replaced in old fashioned, we're still selling a drink. So I don't think really the sales have dipped down that much. Worth not enough to talk about.
Yeah. Well, what about? I think the price points. We're serving better quality things. So, we may not. What would take to sell two, woo-woos or those type of chugging drinks. We're selling one craft cocktail that's $16 to $20.
Yeah, no more bottomless mimosas. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
think
So
we still have those.
talking about alcohol, I know you guys have invested a lot into like your private label.
Oh yeah.
You want to explain how that came about, what it is?
Yeah, we're proud of all that. So we're putting our name on some select spirits. Our primary bourbon is, well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, Garrison and Angel's Envy. So, we'll fly up to Texas, pick out a single barrel that just tastes fantastic, and they, put our name on it. And that's a source of pride because we think we're picking out the very best single barrels, and then our bartenders are proud of it too, and usually the customer is open to trying it, so we are able to move a lot more of that product.
I'm heading to Tennessee next week to do something with Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
For our rye.
For our rye. And that goes back to where people are more educated or more interested in where not only their food but their alcohol comes from. So when we go to Jack Daniels next week, there's one certain plot and one certain rick house that we're going to go to and drill into and find what we're looking for.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. It's really cool to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that something new that the manufacturing is offering now? Like Jack Daniels themselves, now that more restaurants are interested, or it's always been an option?
I don't think
They don't do it for everybody.
They don't.
Yeah, definitely not.
I think they have gotten. It's like Anheuser-Busch, right? Anheuser-Busch, when the craft brewery craze took off, what'd they do? They're like, okay, let's start buying craft breweries.
Yeah.
So it's. I think it's definitely for the bigger companies. They're like, this is a trend, and we want to be known at being part of it, right? So,
Kind of meeting people where they are.
absolutely, or being smart and listening to your customer base. Garrison's is a smaller group, a smaller base, more of an artisanal. It also keeps Jack Daniels in that artisanal type of realm instead of this big, massive company, right?
Right. Humanizes them. You're
Yeah,
saying.
humanize them. Yeah.
We got Patron coming. We're in Mexico, and all these people that we do business with too, like they care.
Yeah.
Right. They care. They're proud of the product because there's a lot of manufacturers that are not proud. We would never do something like that with them. But all these, we go there on site. It's
It's like an episode of Entourage.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Mexico was fun.
So moving on from the alcohol, I know the menu, kind of where you guys get your food has changed a lot over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you're proud of the fact that your cows are not fat. You kind of want to talk about your vendor lists and
Yeah, we made a
attention that you
big
guys
push
put
to go through all of our vendors and really vet them and really level up our game, in a big way. And so that kind of, as part of overhauling the business, we're also, put ourselves on a diet, exercise, eating better, lower our cholesterol, just build the business from the inside out. And so, yeah, that includes who our vendors are, and also, packaging, things like that. And so, yeah, one of our vendors for our cattle, claim to fame is that they have some of the lowest carcass weight in the industry. And what that means, why that's significant, is because that means those cattle aren't being injected with hormones to fatten them up. They'll, stuffing them with corn, where they only eat that and they get real fat, grow really fast, genetics. We don't want to sell that.
Right. So what kind of spewed that change? What kind of made you go through your vendors list?
We just care.
Right.
I know it sounds cheesy. I don't mean to sound cheesy, but it was like, we're in this for the long term. So, I know when you eat a meal that's of low quality, usually, you need to go take a nap. You don't feel good. You feel sluggish, and then you make that association with the place you just ordered that food from. I don't want my guests leaving feeling like that, right. And that's a real thing. So I want them leaving feeling great about the meal they just had. It's a clean meal. Again, I don't want them to leave and feel like they need to go take a nap.
Right. Well, how much have you seen kind of the restaurant industry change in that way? Has there always been at certain restaurants an emphasis on, quality and vendors and where you're getting your food, or is it something that kind of not came out of left field but wasn't a thing 10, 15 years ago?
I think people care about. Yeah, so I think people definitely care a lot more where their food comes from. I think you have people like myself who have worked, a group of people a certain age and you hit a certain point where typically it would be on a higher end restaurant, right? Or a fine dining restaurant. You'd have somebody that'd go after and look for, all the different farmers or people coming to the back door and picking out what they want. I think people care about where they go and where they spend their money. So as a responsible piece, restaurateurs like Chris hire people like myself to make sure that everyone can afford an experience like that. And really that's what it is. You're giving people an experience that that they can afford and appreciate. We use local seafood vendors. A lot of our menu is currently of local fish that's coming right here from Florida. We try to find fishermen using long line instead of being trapped, or farms.
Yeah, the farm stuff.
So, it's really amazing that at this point in my life, you're seeing people who, or restaurants at all levels, are really being responsible and going after the best of what they can provide.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of Cisco?
It has a purpose. I mean, it has a purpose like most things, Cisco, we don't use Cisco, but we have a big broadliner. There's a need for big broadliners, right? So we get a lot of our canned goods or packaged goods, whether it's a culinary kit or, a chemical to clean, those type of things. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of groups and lots of people still out there buying their entire portfolio for them, and that's not good. You're
right.
Just looking straight profit, or you don't have the knowledge. I mean, honestly, I can tell you what, if I'm being honest, I think 40 to 50% of the people who do this shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
How much do you think Cisco sells? I know it's in their catalog, but how much do you think they sell like pre-made food that just needs to be microwaved and put onto a plate? And
How much they?
like, how many restaurants do you think are serving?
Oh, I think, a large majority of chain restaurants you go to, they do.
Right.
They have great marketing.
Yeah.
Hey, you're at a...
They've also bought up a lot of their competition, I think.
So they did and they didn't. It's kind of like, what was it when Bell Laboratories were trying to buy Verizon, right? What's the term?
Merger?
Yeah, but they can't.
Consolidation?
They can't consolidate because they'd be the only guy on the block, right? So government steps in and, they get around and they're trying to buy U.S. foods, so you can't have one person that's going to, dominate the entire marketplace.
Right. So why don't kind of your experiences with learning about bad vendors and how you ended up kind of first turning your attention to it?
Yeah, well, so when this is an investment for me. And I was supposed to be a silent investor, and then, through a series of events, I became more active, and I think I acted out of necessity. And I learned a few lessons the hard way. And so one of which was a very shameful moment, but you got it, from breakdown comes breakthrough, was being featured in, not the primary feature, but feature nonetheless, in Laura Riley's Farm to Fable article that she was on the cover of the Tampa Bay Times, big investigation. She won a Pulitzer Prize for it. And that realization of that we were guilty of using a different fish for a sushi roll, I was just dumbfounded. I don't know any other way to describe it. Why? We don't need to do this financially. Why would we ever do this? And this policy they had been doing this before I became involved in the company, and I just couldn't understand why. Why would you do that? There is no why. And I was embarrassed. It was horrible seeing my name associated with that. I had a ton of shame, because Tampa's been my home, and you don't do business like that in this town. And but we turned. So I guess that was the beginning, of like, all right, I need to ask a lot more questions. Learning that Atlantic salmon farm raised in the Pacific. So went through every word in our menu. I'm like, and calling our vendors, being like, where does this come from? What is this? We're saying using this descriptive word. Is that accurate? And the best one is like Atlantic salmon farm raised in the Pacific is ridiculous.
Right.
And then farm raised fish in general is ridiculous. So I don't want to serve farm raised anything if I can help it. And so that kind of spiraled into learning more and more about how the farmers and raise cattle, fish, and it's horrible. It's not good.
So do you think most people's reaction to that was to call their vendors and ask where the food was from, or do you think most people's reaction to that was to stop using descriptive words?
I mean, our reaction to that was both.
Right.
Which was very unfortunate because I can't 100% guarantee what our supplier says. There is an extent where you have to rely on what your supplier is telling you. There isn't a chain of custody all the way back to the actual cow, right? So some of that we throttled back, taking our vendor's word for it, but still, so you have to have some faith and trust, but you can still do your best. And I think that's what we've done, is to do our best to source the best, the highest quality that we possibly can. It's a long-term thing. I know it'll, and even with the packaging, we're on the water. Like seeing trash in the water just like it's horrifying to see like a piece of floating trash on the Hillsborough River or in the bay. So like I don't want straws, floating in the river.
So did you guys get rid of straws?
Yeah, single-use plastics and we've moved to like compostable stuff. So if it does end up, God forbid, in the river, that it'll compost and degrade and won't see flipper caught up or eaten, ingesting some of our plastics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not good marketing.
No, it's horrible. Like the water is like.
Now you're out there though. You're giving people watermelon sushi, telling them it's tuna.
Now that I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
Fooling people with the water. Yeah. Because it looks just like tuna and it blows their mind.
For context, do you want to talk about your vegan menu?
Sure. Yeah, we're really proud of that. So our chefs came up with it. I'm so proud of them. It's a vegan sushi that looks just like tuna, and you put it in your mouth and it tastes similar, and then we tell them it's watermelon, they just lose their minds. But it's kind of vacuum sealed, and I don't know how you guys made it.
Yeah, sous vide. We have a.
I don't know what that means.
It's done at really low temperatures
Yeah.
for long periods of time. There was a French chef that started it and really started that craze in his Michelin 3-star restaurant. So again, why would a restaurant like ours be doing sous vide? But we do. We have an eggplant that tastes just like eel as well. So what we decided to do in this last menu round is, I don't want, because food tastes good, I don't want it to say, oh, well, it's vegan. No, it's really good. So we've designed our menu that if you want to try something that's really good, it just happens to be vegan instead of putting that out there and saying, oh, this is our vegan menu.
Right.
We do a sushi boat that's all vegan, so we want to make sure that, and we utilize our talents that we have, just creating good food, whether it's vegan or not, and not have to, say, hey, because I think it discourages people. I want to embrace.
It would discourage me.
It's like vegan hate.
If 20 years ago, if I would have told you that this was such a big priority of you, anywhere that you worked, what would you have said? Would you have believed it?
No, I would have said, you know what, I'm calling the loony bin and get you a lobotomy.
Yeah.
But it is.
So how did you come around to it? Just because that's what customers wanted and you had to adapt, or because?
Honestly, this is going to sound really selfish. I make only food that I like. Mm-hmm. And again, if it just happens to be vegan, my family is they're Lebanese also. They're Italian and Lebanese, right? Lebanese culture. You could sit and have a great meal of hummus and baba ganoush and all these great dips. Majority of it is vegetarian and vegan. I'd rather provide something like that for you. Like, wow, that was great. And instead of saying, oh, you had a vegan meal, because you're gonna be like, you're not gonna order it.
Yeah.
I want to repackage what he just said. Is that we'll have vegan ingredients and we'll put them in a regular dish, but not tell people that's a vegan ingredient because it can discourage them from buying it, even though it tastes better. So we have to kind of just leave that off so that people buy it and they're like, oh, this is amazing.
Now, is there a difference between what you just said and making a non-vegan dish with a vegan ingredient?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
Well, we'll make like a non-vegan dish
tuna
with
is-
vegan ingredients, but not tell people those are vegan ingredients.
Right.
But we also we are responsible in the way, like it has, whether a symbol is.
No.
It's not mislabeled.
No. I know. I was asking more.
Yeah.
Lettuce
Yeah.
will always be vegan,
Yes.
Yeah.
rather than tuna. Making a vegan option that tastes very similar to tuna is not the same as using lettuce on the side of, a side salad for a steak.
Oh no, I mean.
Right.
Yeah, the red thing on top of the rice is actually watermelon. Mm-hmm. And we'll tell people it's not tuna, right? I didn't mean to imply that.
No.
But it's just that, I don't know when vegan just became like a dirty word
Right.
with some segments of the population, even though it's maybe a better ingredient.
Right. I would be discouraged from ordering a vegan.
Right, so there you go. That's
But if I
the
said to
point.
you, hey, we just came up with this, it's super cool, give it a try. Like,
Right.
especially
Well,
with
the reason I said what I said about
Yeah.
the lettuce was because I would be discouraged from ordering a vegan replacement for a normal meal. But if a vegan ingredient was part of a normal meal, I wouldn't. Who cares?
Some people might care,
Right.
but yeah.
Right. So, moving on from that, what would be like other restaurant owners, other chefs who want to maybe start looking in deeper, just want to start checking their vendors? Like, how do you go about that?
I'm gonna let you speak to that.
So, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm not going to, but I can speak for us. I tell you what, we are putting in all court press right now on re-looking at our food options in Jack's Cafe in the front. And for that, in doing that, I've been researching, a better potato chip, a better beef stick. Beef sticks are huge right now. So a lot of goes into research, development, trying, tasting, bringing people on in the way of, whether it's servers or anybody, or I'll come up with something and say, hey, Chris, try this, and get feedback and go from there.
As far as like selecting vendors.
Selecting vendors, well, it's the same process. Go through who do you use. It's no different than interviewing
Any supplier.
a person, or somebody that you want to. I don't look at vendors. I look at them as a partner. So if you're going to be a partner in this is what our, how we think. You need to be the same way, So responsible and really it is. I interview them, like I'm interviewing somebody who's going to work in my kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Are they usually transparent or no? They usually hold back.
Yeah, I think there's certain criterias that we go for that I don't think sometimes are coming, but it's the fastest way to stop doing business with us.
Yeah.
And there's really no second chance, because if you do something like that, it's like anybody. If you do something like that, that's not the first time you did it.
Yeah.
That's just the first time you got caught.
Right.
So we're going to disassociate
You're
ourselves.
doing it with
you.
the intention of being misleading.
100%.
Right.
You knew.
So what's like the final word if I didn't, anything left unsaid? Anything that I should have asked you guys?
Anecdotally, my neighbor was a lead statistician for Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so he ran a team of statisticians under him. And I was like, oh, man, I got all kinds of questions for you, man. Like, what a fascinating job you have. I asked him, I was like, why did with the life insurance companies, the average American age was getting older and older, and then it reversed. And, now Americans are dying earlier. So I asked him, I was like, what's up with that? Why are Americans, not forecasted to live as long? without hesitation, he blurts out food supply. Like, that makes sense. I mean, the laws here in America of what we can sell and grow versus Europe are wildly different. As far as how, the amount of Roundup and type of grains, the way we inject, the drugs we inject in our cattle, and, it's all about mass production. But there needs to be a better balance between healthy and feeding the masses. I think we can do Europe's already doing a better job. Of course we can do a better job.
I think the one thing that you missed, though, and I think we should talk about, is the huge amount of cost that it incurs to do this.
Oh, yeah.
We'd be a ton more profitable if we didn't care. If we got the cheapest stuff or the styrofoams or all these different things. We'd be, in our segment of restaurant and what we do, this man puts a large piece, he puts his money where his mouth is, where lots of I'll talk on restaurateurs and chefs on this thing. He puts his money where his mouth is, where a lot of them will not. We'll talk a great story about it, but he does.
It's probably multiple six figures.
Yeah.
Between the paying more for food and better packaging.
And do you see that reflected in people when they, long-term reputationally, have you seen that reflected in the what you get back?
I'm highly confident that I will.
Right.
We're rebuilding, we're rebranding. I don't know that I can compare to any historical figures, with the changes that we've been making, but I don't have any, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to go backwards.
But I think a large part of that is, we follow, our different, what customers write about us. I think the biggest change, because we don't scream from the rooftops either. We're not one of these guys out there pounding our chest, going, "This is what we do." It's not a part of our marketing, even though some of it should. I think we'll see it in people who have a good meal, enjoy their food, and they come back. Honestly, I think that's where the rubber hits the road.
Right. Part of that article that was on TBBW and then the Instagram post, the amount of people who commented like, "Oh, I got to go try it again," or "Oh, I got to go back," or the seed oil thing was a big thing in the comments.
And
it's reflected immediately.
That's why we haven't done much marketing.
Right.
We've been quietly rebuilding the business, because you have one chance to ask someone to come back, and if you screw it up again, you're done for a long time. And so we've been rebuilding the bones, both from our management and the service, and our patio is majorly transformed. And I didn't want those people to come back until we were, really getting closer to great, right, out of the mediocre. And so, I think that's why we just haven't been marketing that, but we've definitely made those changes.
Yeah,
I'm proud of them. I really.
Me too. It's funny. I'm really proud of what we've done and what we do and what we're going to do. We have a spritz bar coming online that's going to have small Italian bites, almost tapas, completely different than the other things that we do. And the great thing about Chris is he's a restaurateur, whether he wants to believe it or not, because to say, great, let's try it, and I think we have a huge fail forward mentality. We may stumble, may not hit the ball every time, but we have conversations on how to be better, and that's huge.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys doing this.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Oh, no, this is great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really great.
I appreciate it.
It's a passionate topic, even with kids, man, what we feed kids is, I feel like sometimes
I feel like that's an important detail. If you want to add that, I know you're invested in some preschools, kind of the
right.
whole evolution of.
So I'm a part owner in two preschools, or just Citrus Park Day School.
Right.
It's in off Henderson there, and I'm so proud of the partner that runs it, Sorelli. You walk in that place and you smell like black beans and rice. It's just an amazing smell in a kitchen, and the government incentivizes us to feed dairy to kids, and I personally don't agree. I think dairy, but whatever. We go the extra mile to feed kids home cooked meals and home cooked food, not packaged. I think pizza's poison. to little kids, that's all they eat.
Right.
You know, it's not a vegetable just because it has tomato sauce, even though it's a fruit. So I think we could do a much better job.
Why do they subsidize it? Farmers?
Dude, the dairy lobby is strong, man. I mean, it's a food group, you know, in the food pyramid. How'd that happen?
They don't still have got milk signs, do they?
What, the dairy lobby?
Like in the schools. You don't remember the signs?
I do, with the mustache.
Yeah.
The milk mustache.
I'm not that old, and those were up even when I was still going to elementary school.
I just don't know why the government's reimbursing us for milk and not reimbursing us for broccoli.
There's no broccoli lobby.
Yeah, where's the broccoli lobby?
Yeah.
You know, so she goes the extra mile on things like that, and I'm proud to be associated with that as well. And you know, like, cares. You can't teach caring.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I think that's a good note to end off on, and yeah.
Cool.
Do it again soon.
Thank you.
Next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll come back with our broccoli lobby.
Yeah. Sounds good.